Yo, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Street Coder Nate, and today we are going over the DOM document. Last video we was talking about methods, and then you saw that I said document.getElementByID, or it was like get element by ID. And I was telling you that the document is the way that we access the DOM. Well, today I'm about to show you some of the things that we can do with that actual document, model, object, whatever you want to call it. Let's tap in. All right, let's get it. So back to W3 schools. Here we go. You see we are at the DOM document chapter. Slides, if you will, whatever you want to call it. And so what is the DOM? The HTML DOM document object is the owner of all other objects in your web page. So in order to access that H1 object, in order to access that P object, in order to access that image object, we have to first go through the document object. And through this document object, it gives us access to everything else because it's the owner of it all. So the HTML DOM document object, the document object represents your web page. If you want to access any element in an HTML page, you always start with accessing the document object. Below are some examples of how you can use the document object to access and manipulate the HTML. So we about to tap in with these methods or these different ways of how we can tap in with the document, right? So what if we wanted to find some elements? JavaScript gives us a way to find some elements, or the DOM gives us a way to find some elements. Well, the way that we find elements is first we, once again, go through the document first. So document.getElementByID. This will help us find an element by its ID. And what do I mean by ID? Well, don't you remember where we could give an element, let's say an H1, and then we could say ID equals? Well, this is whatever you make that ID equal, just like in CSS, get element by ID will literally grab that element back and give it to you with this ID. That shit dope. Okay, there's also get element by tag name and class name. What is a tag name? H1, H3, image. These are tag names, like the regular HTML tag names. And then your class names, you know, how we class equals, ID equals, same shit. Let's get it. Okay, so that's how you will find elements the basic way. That's how I find it the basic way. You'll see a little later there was a better way to do it that kind of combines all three of these ways using like CSS selectors. So how do we change HTML elements? So now that we can grab these elements, how can we change these elements, right? So let's say I grab that H1 tag, and now I want to change like the color, or I want to change the text and stuff like that. Well, here we go right here. We have, so after we have gotten our element, right, by document.getElement, so now we have the element. That's why you see element there and not document. Let me show you. This is why here you see element and not document, because we have already gotten the element. So now this is changing HTML properties on this element. So we got element.innerHTML. This changes the inner HTML of the element. Basically, what is the HTML going to display between the opening and closing tags? Okay, cool. Then we got element.attribute. So let's say this element was an image tag. So we say image dot, let's say source, and then you could change the source of the image. Bruh, you could change the source of the image that fast. So let's say that when the web page actually loaded, there was an image of me, but then we had some event listener handler that when I clicked on it, it changed it. We did a document.getElementByID of the image. Then we did image.source, and we changed the source to something different. So now when we click on the image just changes like that. That's dope. And honestly, you can kind of see that. Or we can connect a button, and when we click the button, we say document.getElementByID on the image, and then when the button is clicked, we can change the source on the image, and it almost seems like the button and the image are connected now. These, like, JavaScript is really giving us this ability to really start making our web pages really dynamic and dope on some real shit. Okay. And then the last one was that I really mess with is the element.style.property. So like element is image again. And so all elements have this style property. Remember, you can do inline styling on an element in HTML, or you can do your styling in a CSS file. Well, here basically what they're saying is we can grab that style attribute, and then that style attribute also has attributes, right? So the style has attributes, and what type of attributes does it have? It has background color, it has height, width, like all the CSS attributes, and then you set it equal to a new value. Basically, what the element.style.property is doing, that property is whatever CSS property you want to set on that element or change or whatnot, and then on the right hand side is what you want to set that value to. So as you can see, it says change the style of the HTML element, basically changing the CSS of that HTML element right there. And so you can see how you can do that shit, or how you can, how you can do it dynamically now. Excuse me. All right, and then they got this other method right here, which is set attribute. And I don't really use set attribute because I just use this one or that one. But set attribute pretty much doing the same thing as that one. Cool. Okay, and then now we have adding and deleting elements from the DOM. So how can we add elements to the DOM? Or first, this one shows us right above is document.create element, and this creates an HTML element. So what this says is document, I need you to create me an HTML element. That's all it's saying. Document.create HTML element. The document has remember the document owns all the elements, so we have to ask the document in order to create create an element. In order to remove an element, we have to ask the document as well because the document owns it all. In order to append an element, meaning after we just created this element, we also need to put this element onto the web page. Just because you create it doesn't mean it's inside the DOM. You have to append it for it to be inside the DOM. And then you got document.replaceChild. So it takes in the new and the old. These are methods. It takes in the new and the old, it takes in the new child and then the old child, and it goes finds that old child and replaces it with the new child. Cool, inside of the DOM. And then you got document.write, and this is just writing to the HTML output stream. So basically just writing randomly to the stream, whatever data you want to write. Cool. That's dope. This part right here. Now this is the best part. Event handling. This is what the JavaScript, this is where it really turned up at, because you get access to these things called events. And JavaScript, once again, has numerous events. So we're going to cover events, as you can see somewhere right there, event listener, where we're gonna get to events. Oh, and then right above it say DOM events. So we're going to get to events, but right now, adding event handler code to an onClick event. So document.getElementByID.onClick is going to equal some type of function. So what in the damn what is this saying? Document.getElementByID onClick. Well, we know that document.getElementByID is going to grab us an element, and then we're saying .onClick, and we're setting it equal to something. So we're not calling .onClick with parentheses. With parentheses, that would be a method. Without parentheses, this is a property. So this document has a property called onClick. And basically, this is saying that this property onClick, when the user clicks on me, it has a reference to this anonymous function right here. And what's going to happen is onClick is going to reference that function, and that function is just going to run. What is a function again? It's a set of actions. It's just actions. It's a procedure. So onClick, run these procedures is basically what this says. So you can grab you can tell the document to grab you an H1 and say, when this H1 is clicked on, run this set of code. And that set of code can, like we saw above, that set of code can change the style, change the color. So on click of this, change me to pink, change my background color to pink, change it to red, change it to, you feel me? So we're starting to get a bunch of we starting to see how this is all connecting together. We have to learn the syntax first. Well, first we even have to learn what JavaScript was and what coding was. Then we have to learn the syntax. Then I kind of brought it back to you and said, this is how we're going to interact. Now we learn about the DOM, and you're seeing how we really being able to manipulate dynamically our web pages with JavaScript is really cool. All right, so finding HTML elements. So, oh, we already found an HTML element, HTML objects. Okay, and so the first HTML DOM level defined 11 HTML objects, object collections of properties. These are still valid in HTML5. Later, HTML DOM level 3, more objects collections and properties were added. So what is it when we say level? Is levels to this shit kind of like what we mean by that? So we talking about like kind of like this. I want to say the first level. You can get the head, you can get the body. So let's go back. Let's see. It says you can go document.body, and that returns the body. So you also got document.head on the first, or that's the third level it shows. And that's document.body is on the first level. Document.body. All right, so yeah, I don't understand the level shit, but it's levels to the shit. But understand that document.anchors will grab all the anchor tags, document.applets will return the applets, and stuff like that. These are like real quick things that you can do with the document. Like I said, it has 11 top ones, and so that's basically how we use it. Document.head images. Easy way to grab a whole bunch of the links, to grab all the A tags, the area tags. That's easy, quick way. Okay, cool. That is the DOM. Oh, we didn't talk about Queryselector. Okay, cool, that's fine. Guess that's in another video. Well, I just talk about it now. So there's a thing called document.get. So you got get element by ID, get element by tag name, and get element by class name. There's another one that's called document.Queryselector, and you got Queryselector all too. But Queryselector, and what Queryselector allows us to do is pass in what's CSS selectors. So in CSS, we could say if we wanted to select a class, we say dots whatever the class name is, and then that's how we select it. If we wanted to select the ID, hashtag whatever the class name or ID name is, then we go select it. And then if we wanted to select, let's say a tag, P tag, we would say P, and then select it. Well, Queryselector allows us to do that. We pass in a string of the CSS selector that we want to select, and now we don't have to say if it's a specific ID, a class name, or a tag. We could just pass in a selector, and then in the browser, the DOM knows what to go back and grab from it. So that is the DOM. That is the document object, and it really, as you can see, allows us to really interface. It gives us that interface to our HTML front. It gives us that interface. It gives the interface to our JavaScript so that we can talk to the HTML, manipulate the HTML dynamically as the HTML is being worked up on the page. Tap in with JavaScript. I'm giving y'all this knowledge. We are going to do a bunch of projects, but y'all got to get this knowledge in first. You got to understand the DOM. You got to understand what I'm doing with it, bro. So here we go. That's the document. See y'all in the next video. Peace.